jobs, how many people see
Oh
the
my
jobs.
god.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like show me the incentives and I'll
Just
show you
all
the outcome.
optics, just
Yeah.
fake optics to
Mhm.
make it look like there's so many jobs,
Yeah.
but there's really not.
Yeah. I mean, again, the election showed that people did not believe the lies. They didn't believe the narrative, right? So the majority of people said, no, we don't believe this. Which
Thank God.
it was obvious. I mean, it was so obvious.
It's a
So
little
obvious.
But that's in America, right? It's a little different in Europe, right?
Yeah, you guys over in Europe, man, you guys really trust whatever piece of propaganda is fed to you. What's going on there? What's happening,
It
Daniel?
kind of depends on the country.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, the situation is a little bit strange. So also on the ground, when you're looking at jobs and you're looking at real inflation and also real wages, yeah, people are also suffering in Europe. So, I mean, it's kind of a blanket statement, but it's not great. Now, politics, personally, I try to stay the hell out of all of that.
Oh.
Because it's just
Good to
one
know.
black hole after another. I've been
Yeah.
ranting and raving about Brexit since 2016, and that's, one problem. But generally, you can see that countries are not exactly together anymore like they used to be, and it's causing all sorts of problems also in Europe. So,
But I guess my question would be, I saw some poll the other day, and it just showed like Americans' trust in the corporate media was like 14%, but like in Europe, it's still at like 60%.
Oh, it's way high. Yeah.
Huge disconnect there. Do you feel that? Do you see that? Or
well, on the ground, I mean, the reality is that, of course, there's completely different policies also for employees, and that's normally the biggest contact. Either you're a customer that is connected with this corporation in some way or some stakeholder, or in many cases, it will be the employees complaining about quality of life, for example, or whatever. Now, in terms of policy, I mean, generally in European countries, there's a lot of laws that prevent, corporations from overstepping. But in some countries, they're being pulled back or they're not always respected. So it depends really on where you're looking at.
interesting.
Europe is a lot more of a socialist. Like it's more widely accepted there for socialism. So like you guys pay a lot more in taxes than we do, but you get free healthcare and free other stuff. I'm curious, like, what's your experience been like that? Because obviously we're probably going to talk about our taxes here since that's
Yeah,
a
it's
whole
gonna
big
be-
sham. So I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on the European like taxing and how much more you end up paying.
Well, let me put it this way. By moving to the Netherlands, effectively, I've increased my tax rate quite heavily. And
Really?
in fact, there's a wealth tax. So I'm paying on Bitcoin effectively that I will not be exchanging.
Oh, like a capital
Wow.
gains.
Yeah, effective. But well, capital
Unrealized.
gains is one, but
Unrealized.
unrealized gains
Yeah.
tax, and it's it's not massive. But when you actually do the maths, you're like, well, what do you do? And then when you actually cash out, the capital gains tax is really, really high. But not in every European country. So what's been happening is a lot of people are escaping, for example, to Cyprus, which is very easy to move to from the Netherlands if you have a Dutch passport, for example. But now they're working on exit taxes. So if you try to leave the Netherlands, for example, you'll have to
They've got
potentially
all
pay.
sorts of
It's gonna get
schemes.
you
It's
no matter
unbelievable.
what.
I actually just recorded a series with Dominic Frisby, who's he's a big Bitcoin guy, but he's an author from London, and his book Daylight Robbery discusses the history of taxation. Fascinating book. We had a fascinating series, but just the different, like all these little taxes and schemes that they come up with, like there's some that are just so
Put their
funny
hand in
the
every
book.
pocket.
Yeah, they're just.
But
it's
what
so
about
clever.
the roads, Maddie? Who's going to build the roads? It's like, okay, come
Oh,
on.
man.
Do we really need
Yeah.
billions of dollars?
Well, I mean, the libertarian argument is that those roads will still get built and
Yep.
privatized, and toll booth, whatever it may be. So that's kind of the counter argument to that. But I don't think most people are probably not against paying for the roads. And believe it or not, for the first couple hundred years of America, we didn't have an income tax, and the roads still got built.
Yeah.
The railroads
Exactly.
still got built.
And
Everything
it's like
got
a
built.
fraction of what we're actually paying,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
obviously they're milking. Hopefully we're going to talk
So
about
how
that.
do you chose to go to the Netherlands? Like, was that your?
Well, it's a long story, but effectively, my dad worked for the European Space Agency, so we kind of ended up there when I was 5, 6, something like that. So it's kind of home as well. But I spent a few years in Switzerland again, and from a tax perspective, it's probably better to go back. But
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
realistically, it's not a bad country to live in.
I love
it's a
Amsterdam.
cool place to visit. And it's okay. Like for most people, it's a lovely place to live. It's just, yeah, you get murdered on the taxes for sure.
What do you, Paul? Can you pull up the tweet about, or the X take? I guess you can't call it a tweet anymore. The one with
is that what
Elon.
they're called? X.
I don't know what they're called.
Oh.
but I
That's
just
what the
saw 'em.
cool kids are called.
I don't know
Oh,
what the
got
cool
it.
kids
I
are
was
calling
like,
them, but
oh,
it's talking
I
about
like
this
that.
right there. That one right here. Like, play this clip from Elon. So this is actually kind of fascinating. I'm sure you guys have heard about this, like email that everyone's supposed to send.
Perhaps was misinterpreted as a performance review, but actually it was a pulse check review. Do you have a pulse? Do you have a pulse and 2 neurons? So if you have a pulse and 2 neurons, you can reply to an email. This is, I think not a high bar, is what I'm saying. This is, anyone could accomplish this? But what we are trying to get to the bottom of is we think there are a number of people on the government payroll who are dead, which is probably why they can't respond, and some people who are not real people, like they're literally fictional individuals that are collecting paychecks. Well, some of these
Black holes
collecting paychecks are
everywhere.
fictional individuals.
Yeah.
So we're just literally trying to figure out, are these people real? Are they alive? And can they write an email?
I mean, that's
Which I think is a reasonable expectation for the American public would have at least that expectation of someone in the public sector.
very wild.
I think that email perhaps was
Have you
misinterpreted
seen-
as a performance review.
Have you seen how they were trying like to spin it on the actual news?
Oh yeah. Oh, this is terrible.
This
How
is
how dare he ask him to send an email? I mean, you just can't make this shit up, man. It's unbelievable.
I don't even watch the news anymore.
No, I bet there is a.
I
mean,
listened to a podcast who was
Okay, I was
talking
like,
about
I
the
don't even have
mainstay-
cable. What
like-
level of?
Did you see Trump trolling it? He went and used Grok to make a fake thing that's like tell my boss 5 things I did this week.
It's not hard.
I mean, it's unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, he's probably right. Everywhere he's looking, he's finding tremendous amounts of fraud,
Yeah,
waste,
it's-
abuse. I mean, this whole USAID thing about all these NGOs that just are essentially slush funds for all these Congress people. They sit on the board and they get to pay all their kids and friends and everybody. I mean, it is literally cronyism to the extreme.
84 million to the
Yeah.
Clinton daughter.
Yeah, we talked about that I think last week. Fucking crazy.
Some of the money going back to Soros, who
I-
we all know is
Yeah,
not
that's
a
the newest
good
one.
actor.
Yeah. It's,
Crazy.
Here's Laura Luma says, isn't it funny how less than 2 weeks after USAID was defunded, majority of the leftist show hosts on CNN and MSNBC
I love it.
I just had their shows canceled today. They were literally subsidizing their multi-million-dollar salaries for their DEI commie propaganda with our tax dollars. Yeah, I mean, I think she hits the nail on
Nailed
the head
it.
there. I mean, so much. Look at all the media that's happening. I mean, why are we, the United States taxpayers, paying for
Propaganda.
propaganda all over the world? I mean, it's just insane. You want to do propaganda, do it yourself and get an audience and get paid for it.
Yeah.
And that's just one thing that they've touched so far.
Yeah,
like this whole
It's tip of the iceberg, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so much more in every direction, but I personally think that, okay, here's my conspiracy theory on this.
Let's hear it.
I think that they've had this information for a long time. There's no way that Elon is just now combing through all of this stuff. I think they've had all of this information and they're kind of just starting to eke it out to people and get them used to understanding the amount of waste that's going on, so that when they drop the bigger bombs of
You
stuff,
don't think it was big balls going in there and just
not currently right now. I think they've probably have had this
Mm-hmm.
information for quite some time, and just now we're the public is just now being kind of dripped.
we kind of
the
all knew it
information.
was a massive grift and a scam, right? I mean, I always knew that this is just total bullshit scam.
Yeah.
But
just-
now you're just seeing the breadth of the fucking scam, the breadth of how our tax dollars are being wasted and used. And I'm sure that there's some good intention somewhere along there, to maybe do I'm sure Hillary Clinton's daughter's oh, I'm gonna do something good in Haiti. But then when you do the math on the whole equation, it's every meal costs $2,000 or something ridiculous, right? I mean, I'm
don't
being
think they were doing
hyperbolic, but
anything good in Haiti.
yeah,
That's
I don't
another
know. But
convo.
well, they said they served she's been getting this $84 million, and that's they said they served 200 meals to Haitian children or something like that, and the cost
Yes.
of each meal was some astronaut. I mean, just the whole thing is ridiculous, terrible.
Well, if they lie about one thing,
Yeah,
they're gonna it's there's 50 shades of lies.
Yeah.
You uncover this, which uncovers that, and
Yeah.
it's it continues. It's what's the game when we were younger? Bop it. Or not bop it, with the things that would come up. You hit it, and just
the
come-
hungry
so the
hippo,
one-
yeah, the
the
hungry
Yeah, yeah.
hippos or whatever. I know what you're
This one
talking
just
about.
they just
The little-
put
little
each one
ferret.
out when it comes out because this one's
Yeah.
gonna lead to this one. and
Yeah.
It just keeps going deeper and deeper.
Then they
and
found
deeper.
with that whole thing with Haiti, they found that half the money didn't even make it to Haiti. It was first given away to these consultants and stuff in DC, which is just basically like fucking money laundering.
They're just
like just
laundering
total
it,
fraud.
yeah.
Total
Yeah.
bullshit.
Well, the whole Ukraine war is also just a laundering of money.
A massive amount of it probably
It's
is just being totally
washed
wasted.
up.
And then you talk to the people on the other side who think that, like, no, like, I support Ukraine. I support Ukraine. It's like, okay, but do you support them, like, enough to pay them with your money that's instead of giving to your own family?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
and
I mean,
protecting your own border.
I'm sympathetic to
Of
the
course,
situation. Like
we're all
I,
human beings.
you
We don't
know,
want anyone to die
Yeah.
or be in war. But at the same time, it's like
Yeah.
us being involved is the reason why
it's continuing.
it's
to go on,
continuing,
yeah.
which is leading to more deaths. So we, as Americans, not like you and I, but as a country, like, we're just as responsible.
Mhm.
But and then there's people like putting the Ukrainian flags, like, they're so propagandized, like it's
It's
insane.
it is kind of crazy. It's like what I feel for the for the people of Ukraine, and I think it's sad, and
course.
I absolutely think that Russia did not need to invade. I understand their grievances and like why they could justify it. Like definitely understand that, but like they initiated that war, so I don't know. In the media, I've been seeing this thing lately where I don't know if it's left leaning accounts. They're saying that like they're asking people on the right like who invaded or whatever, and they're just like not answering or something. And that's the way they're making it look. So
Of course.
equal criticism to the right for if they're saying that Russia didn't invade because they absolutely did invade. So
Yes.
that's and that sucks, right? But what I like about the Trump administration is like let's be fucking realists, let's be pragmatists. Like what we don't. That's like on the other side of the world, right? Like historically, that was like there's all these little infighting things happening there. Ukraine was part of Russia or the Soviet Union, and then they weren't, and then they are, and then we got involved in this, and then NATO bases are moving here, and we're funding fucking CIA coups over there in 2014, and like
starting
what the fuck
COVID in a
with our-
lab in
like,
China.
What the
That's
fuck is
what
going
I was
on?
about to just.
Yeah, we're like funding all this
Yeah.
shit that's happening everywhere,
We
right?
funded the biggest
And then
pandemic
these
ever.
motherfuckers try to hide it. Like they like all coordinate. All these scientists, they're like,
weapons there.
oh fuck, they found out about our little experiments. Like we're gonna be fucked. Like let's lie about it to everybody and like lie to Congress and lie to the people and we'll try to oh it's a conspiracy theory, right? Like that's their famous
Yeah,
thing.
they're all conspiracy theories
Yeah.
until you just fast forward maybe like a year, not
Yeah.
even, and all of a sudden, wait, maybe they're not crazy, but people have to save face, so they can't
Yeah.
change their mind.
They
Yeah.
are early
Yeah.
headlines. Let's get that right.
Just crazy. I think we need to pull the plug on all this money flowing all over the place. Obviously it's funding fucking Wuhan Institute of Virology in China. It's funding all these little research labs in Ukraine. It's fucking funding all these little pet projects of every politician's daughter and family and whoever. I mean, it's time to pull the plug.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're going to continue to print money no matter what. And if they're going to continue to do that, why not do that in a way that's going to benefit the actual citizens instead of like benefiting everybody else and every other person other than why not redirect that money in a way where the actual citizens are taken care of first, not last?
I totally agree with you,
Because it's
man.
going to
I
happen
think-
regardless. They're not just stopping the
Yeah.
printing of money. It's
Yeah.
literally impossible. So there's two options. Do we default on the debt? Right?
But-
We're not doing that. Or do we continue to print more, which is gonna there's
But then-
nothing else that's gonna happen.
That would just make too much sense. I mean, we have to fund all this money so we can, create apps to fly a bunch of illegal aliens across the border and, give all this money to all these NGOs, $200 million to the Catholic or the Protestant charity that brings all the illegals over.
Yeah.
We got to build that CBP1 app.
Well,
so
now
we
there's
can
gonna be
fly
a
'em in.
gold card. Trump
Yeah.
announced. Did you guys see that?
I did. See
Finally, we're
that.
gonna make some money. I like
It's
that
$5
idea.
million.
Yeah, which is if someone wants
If he
to spend
sells
five,
if he sells a bunch of those, I mean, that we're in good shape.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
But yeah, I mean, the gravy train's over. Trump's already in there. He's already brokering peace deals.
I hope so.
I mean, he's already auditing everything, which is what we
Yeah.
needed. Like, it just makes your blood boil looking at how much money you've paid in taxes.
It is unbelievable. Some of the shit that
It's like, oh, you want to give me $5,000? Cool, I'll take it. However, what about all the other money that I paid, and where did that go? I think it's great that he's auditing everything. I think what's funny is, the mainstreamers, the AOC, and all of that stuff.
He's
There's
hot.
no transparency. Bro, there's a website.
yeah,
it
pull that
literally
website up,
line items,
I saw that.
everything.
That was
what do you
great.
mean there's
I was
not a
fantastic.
transparency?
it shows like
It's all
exactly what they're
there.
cutting. I think it's like find the Doge website. Yeah, I saw a take on it the other day, and it was pretty interesting.
It's calculating the total that they're finding and saving. It's
Yeah, look at
it like
this.
gives you all
That
the
is
names of the BS.
unbelievable. Look at this. I mean, you could not get any more transparent than this.
There's
I mean, I
there's
don't-
also X accounts for every
Uh-huh.
single one of them,
Yeah.
which is great.
so
I mean,
they're 3% of the way there. They've saved $54 billion in like 30 days. That's unbelievable. And then they're showing that it's like we're only 3% of the way there.
and this is only one thing that they're showing you that they're auditing so
Yeah.
far. That's my point. Is I think that all this stuff has already been audited long ago, and they're just kind of dripping it out to us, because think about how mind-blowing just this is. Then you add on, it could be trillions.
I don't know. Elon Musk is like sending spaceships to the fucking to the stars and shit.
He's
I mean,
landing.
I wouldn't
he's hugging them.
all
when
he's
they
got. Yeah,
land.
all he's got to do is. I mean, this is not rocket science. So when you just like, I don't.
I am a
I
rocket
don't think. Yeah,
science.
he's a fucking rocket scientist, but I don't think this is rocket science. It's like, hey, like, give us access to the file so we can just see where the money's flowing. Oh,
Yeah.
what's this? Oh, gender studies in Pakistan.
he's had
transgender
access.
fucking surgeries for monkeys. All this stuff.
He's had NSA access for
Yeah.
a long time. Like, he's had security clearance on all files. Like, he's seen the Epstein files, all that stuff.
really?
Yeah, he said it on Twitter or X.
Did he really? Wow.
Yeah, he's like, I've had access to this stuff for years.
Really?
That's why I'm saying I don't think this is new auditing. I think it's just new
But
reporting.
then he got in a fight. He got in a fight with that lady at was it the IRS or what was it? It was one of these places where he got in a fight. Was it the USA? They tried to like not give him access, and he just like said, "You're like Trump fired the person or whatever."
I think it was the IRS.
Yeah, one of these buildings or whatever. And
Then
then
you have Dan Scavnew.
they made that guy the
yesterday.
new head of the IRS who helped them. There's like a lowly like guy in the IRS who was like, he was just like, you know what? I want to help the taxpayers. Like, I want to help people save money. So they took this guy who like explained to them like how this works, what this means, what that means. And they're like, oh, you're the new head of the IRS now. I love it.
Oh, I did see that.
That was
I did
classic.
see that. But then I also saw yesterday abolish the IRS. Like, legitimately, one of the chief of staffs for Trump said,
Yeah.
it's time to abolish the
should.
IRS.
I think so. We made it through our first 200 years of American history without an IRS.
It's
And
theft.
it was,
We already pay state tax, right, where we
Yeah.
live.
Mhm.
Like, why do we have to pay federal tax?
it's insane.
And
It's
then
insane.
Did you see
We're
DeSantis?
going to get rid of property
Yeah,
taxes here in
DeSantis yesterday
Florida.
was
Yeah,
saying-
DeSantis did say that, didn't he?
You're gonna come down. You're gonna come this way if we get
It's-
rid of that.
Yeah, but like the difference and I've talked about this a couple times is I was looking at a property in New York maybe like 5 years ago, and like when I saw when I was looking at the realtor and looking at the numbers and stuff, I'm like, oh, that's not too bad, like for a yearly amount of tax. And she's like, no, that's your monthly payment.
yeah.
My jaw like
New
hit the
York is
floor.
insane.
I'm like, that's literally like 10 to 15 times what I pay in Florida for the year. Like, that's insane. Who would ever buy a property here? That's what I thought in my head. I'm like, no, I'm definitely not. Like, it was like more than the mortgage payment every month. I'm like, this is insane. Who does this? How do
Yeah.
people actually agree to do
Well,
this?
in Florida, we hate it, and
Yeah.
we have it good.
Yeah, we have it good and we hate it. I was like,
like-
I don't even mind paying my property taxes in Florida. I'm like, oh, it's going to a good government, good stuff, like good schools. Like, I don't mind paying my property taxes in Florida.
But you're basically just effectively renting your
Yeah.
land if for infinity
I get
from
it.
the government.
No,
you
I'm-
never actually own your property,
I'm
even if it's
amenable
paid
to
off.
it.
It's
What
insane.
yeah, I'm like,
But I get what you're
I hear what
saying.
you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, I totally get it. Like, yeah, I would prefer not to, but like having that like taken out is like I can deal with that.
Yeah.
What I
can
can't deal
stomach
with
it.
is sending like 6-figure checks to fucking the federal government so they can fucking fund gender queer studies in fucking as Mechastan or wherever the hell, and then fucking take a $5 million like missile and shoot down a balloon, right?
I
It's
mean,
like,
the names of these things,
like,
where
seriously,
they were
it's
sending
not even a
money.
joke.
Like, there must have
It's-
been a committee just to think of the
it's,
names.
It's
They're
literally
so
like
a
a
Key and
not
Peele
even a
skit.
joke. It's literally like I feel like I'm living in a fucking simulation. I'm like, is this for
No,
real?
we are.
It's
we
called
are.
The
It's like-
Simpsons.
Yeah, it's like there's like this balloon float.
Seriously.
You remember that balloon that like floated for like
China
days?
balloon?
The fucking balloon like floated, like it floated all over the United States, and it was like a week. They couldn't like decide what to do. And then I remember like it got to like the ocean, and it was like not over America anymore. And they're like, yeah, let's just fucking shoot it down with a $5 million missile. So they shot it down with a missile over the ocean, and it's like, yeah, this is a $5 million missile they used to shoot down a fucking balloon. And I'm like, you know, people work like that like 100 people work their entire lives to pay the tax to do that. Like
Yeah.
that is insane. Like
It's just wasteful.
just complete disconnect with
Daniel.
like reality.
What is the property tax like in the Netherlands? Is it similar to like as it is here, or
Well, to be fair, it depends on the kind of dwelling. So apartments in some cases will be lower than certain property taxes can also depend on the equivalent of the jurisdiction. So I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I know that they're not terribly high, I guess. I mean, most of the taxes taken in from income, and we also have a VAT tax. So we pay, I believe, 21% on our products. And then there's a
Crazy sales
lower tax rate for certain essential items, I believe some food items and so. but still you pay a lot. And I think here in Florida, it's averaging 6-7%, something like that.
I think
for
we pay a
sales tax.
6-7% sales tax, which is low. It's like our VAT
Pretty
is
low.
6-7, which
Yeah,
I
so-
don't mind either.
So like here, that's all we have.
Yeah.
But like if you were in New York, you have that tax plus another like a state. It's in right like
You have they have a state income tax too, so you also pay
New York
federally.
is so
you pay,
expensive.
and then
My
you
God.
also pay a state income
yeah,
tax.
and
a federal
all
tax.
those places that have the most expensive taxes are the places that are the most unsafe, dirtiest.
Literally the brokest. They have no money.
And
Where
so
did it go?
It makes no
Oh.
sense. Like, but these are pillars of like the old like what made America great. And this is like what Trump is like. Let's make America great again. Look at our big cities: L.A. shit,
Yeah,
Chicago shit, New York. that's just-
Total shithole.
is like
my God.
right. Like these are the places that are like people in other countries they want to see.
Philly,
This is
Boston,
yeah.
a lot of places.
But everywhere
that,
that
are
like our
metropolitan.
foundation like of cities, those are the places that are like complete shit. And it's like, oh, this is New York City, the best place in the world. It's like it used to be, and it can be it again. But we have to get our shit together, which is so cool to see Trump doing these things. And it's not just Trump; it's the entire team he's putting together. Which is we talked about this last time. If Trump would have won in 2020, none of this would be happening.
yeah.
But because now he has Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, Elon Musk, who was a Democrat in 2020, so Doge would never have been a thing. And you have a lot of the liberal party because Trump went after the liberal party. How? Well, at our conference, he literally said he's going to free Ross. He did free Ross. He got the libertarian vote. And now a lot of the libertarians, they're always going to be in the middle, but are they in the middle right, middle left? So America
You
is
can't
now.
forget RFK Jr.
course.
That
Yeah,
pulled a
foreign.
bunch
He's
too.
I supported RFK Jr. I would have voted for him.
They're all former Democrats,
Yeah.
pretty much all of them. What does that tell you?
Well,
Like-
well, Kamala beat them all in the primary.
allegedly.
Well, there was no primary. Like,
Oh yeah, that's right. She didn't
but
have one.
all of these people, like,
She
if
would have
the
won.
Democrat,
They said that she would have
if
won.
the
right?
Democrat
Yeah.
Party
Wink, wink.
actually wanted to win, like, there's a lot of Republicans that would have voted for Tulsi Gabbard. There's a lot of Republicans that would have voted for RFK
Yeah.
Jr. But the people that they wanted to pull from the right to come there, it went the opposite way.
Yeah. They've gotten so radical that
It took
what
it
was
too
like
far,
center
man.
left, what was center left before is now far right.
Yeah.
Like Elon are considered far right now.
Our president right
Yeah.
now was a
Yeah.
Democrat for
Yeah.
almost his entire life, and
Yeah.
it's not like he changed a lot.
Yeah, he hasn't changed much at all. He's
Right.
he's always been like he loves the word tariffs. He's always been talking. He's been like an 80s, 90s Democrat. I mean, that's literally what his whole worldview has always been.
Yeah.
So
They took it too far with Elon. Like
Yeah.
they transgendered his kid, which
yeah, he said
he
that.
has a vendetta out now
Yeah.
for them. They came after him with lawfare, with so much of the stuff that he's trying to do to move things forward. So they messed with the wrong guy.
Yeah.
They really, really did.
Yeah, they mess with the person that owns the biggest platform. News can get out. He's the richest person in the world. He's literally saving people's lives with the internet in North Carolina while he's landing and catching rockets. Like
yeah.
he's doing and he just does not know no.
Yeah.
Like you tell him no, it's like, what don't I know? How can I learn more to make it
Yeah.
happen? And it's that energy that if Americans can just
It's
encapsulate,
it's the
that's-
epitome of the American spirit is really what it is.
Exactly.
And that's why he has so much support. That's why I fucking love the guy. He's not perfect. Like some things he does that I disagree
He's
with.
hysterical.
He's
He's throwing up
funny,
memes
but-
and stuff
yeah.
on X. Like
Yeah.
I think it's the
But
funniest
like
thing.
he is who he is exactly. Like
When does he
shows you.
sleep?
I don't
That's
think
my
he does.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he is the epitome of the American spirit and the American dream. I mean, that's what it is. It's on full display.
They showed him sleeping in like a American flag sleeping bag at one of the like government offices with the Doge guys as they
That's
were
awesome.
working through stuff. So I
That's
don't think
awesome.
the guy sleeps very much, but
What do you
who
guys
knows?
What do you guys think about this whole? Have you seen the press, like the White House press, like they're all the AP, the Associated Propaganda, they're complaining like
because they didn't want to say Gulf of America.
Yeah, because he's basically not giving them the same people that have always had access. Now he's bringing in like podcasters and like all
It's
sorts of different.
great.
I love it too.
Well, one, we're getting actual questions that people actually want to hear about
Yeah.
instead of just bullshit like
Yeah.
propaganda from the
Pre-approved.
news outlets.
so that's
Second, like the reason why like recently happened, one of the I don't even know, like I guess she's famous because she's on a popular network, but I don't think like she has any intelligence. I don't know, so I don't know her name. But they were literally her agent or her TV channel, they were keep calling it Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of Mexico.
Mhm.
And they're like, we're not gonna let you continue to spread lies because even iPhone maps, Google Maps, all these places have recognized that it's Gulf of America, but you guys continue to lie to your so you guys are doing this to yourself. It's just the propaganda, like they don't like
yeah.
it's insane. And Trump, did you see recently in like the White House, like he brought the 2 Gulf of America things right next to like they're just 2, and like so that
He loves the troll. I love
Oh,
it.
it's fantastic.
he also has a picture
He
of
does
his.
press conferences every day in the
I
Oval
love
Office.
it. I love it.
It's such a night and
It's
day
so
from Biden
classic.
too, right? Like
Yeah.
we have to actually have a president that can actually have a conversation and actually know like what he's saying.
Which is like what they were doing before here was the same White House press pool that spent years covering up Joe Biden's dementia and handing him cheat sheets with pre-approved questions is now lamenting the loss of press independence. I think that's just classic.
It's the
Yeah.
it's the irony.
Well, I think Trump recognized how much, podcasts and TikTok and, those kinds of things that he did on the campaign trail, they played a huge role in, people really getting to
Yeah.
know him, like, and his personality and all of that stuff.
People
which
just take him way too seriously.
those news reporters from all of the MSM stuff, they try to paint him into a bad picture. So they ask him questions, but he doesn't even have a chance to actually talk about what he's doing because they just try to paint him into a corner.
Yeah.
So I think he finally recognized that, hey, people with podcasts and regular
Long form conversation.
yeah,
like
they're going to
this.
showcase his personality, and the guy's likable. Once you get him talking, I mean,
Yeah.
he just is.
He's, once you realize he just has a sense of humor and he's trolling half the time, like
Yeah, just like everyone else that you
Yeah.
know in the world.
Yeah.
You know who you don't
Yeah.
people don't like? The people that can't do that.
That
That
lie,
are just
that are
lying,
full
that
of
they're
shit.
covering
Yeah.
up something, and
Yeah.
the people that's like, there's something off about him. Why can't I trust him?
Mm.
And
I'm
once
gonna
you
put Biden or Kamala sitting here, even with us,
did you
just to have
see-
a conversation.
They couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
Couldn't
do you
it.
remember the interview that Kamala like did, and then like they kind of like edited
60-minute one.
Did you see they leaked the actual
Yeah.
footage
Oh,
and
yeah.
how
Horrible.
bad it
Yeah,
was?
Yeah.
Like it's
Horrible.
worse
I
than you
mean,
could have thought.
Like
And that was almost our freaking president.
Literally,
No.
those 60 Minutes people, like they are like committing fraud. I don't like they're taking taxpayer
Yeah.
money to run that program. They get money from taxpayers, and like it's literal. Like if you watch the script from that video, like the guy would ask a question, and then they'd be like on air. And I saw this. I saw this like portion of it. I'm like, I couldn't believe it. He's like, oh, how are you going to pay for this? And she gives this whole bullshit fucking word salad response. And then like once they get off, they're like, are we still on air? No. And he's like, how are you really going to pay for it?
Oh my god.
When I saw that, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, you can't make it up.
I mean, you just can't make this shit up. Like, you call yourself a fucking journalist? You're not a journalist. You're a fucking
Yeah, a
propagandist.
journalist that's coloring in like
Yeah.
you're what's in the pages. Oh, like color in like don't cross the line.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
All because they know the money printer for them turns off.
Yeah.
Which is what's
Which is
happening
exactly
now.
what's
It's
happening.
what
No, I think you hit the
brings
right.
it back to like the shows are getting canceled.
Yeah.
The reporters are out.
Yeah,
like
you can't blame them though. I
you
mean,
can't-
it's like
yeah,
it's
so
their money. It's how they, you know,
they're
And
trying
at
to
the end-
prop her up.
They're
And-
propagandists.
Yeah.
And
now
at
they're
the
getting-
end of the day, it always comes back to the money, which is something we all here
incentives.
on this table
Show me
like,
the
have-
incentives, and I'll show you
have
the
in
outcome.
common. We all here have learned about Bitcoin. We all here have studied Bitcoin, which part of that journey about studying Bitcoin is learning about the money and how fucked the money is
Yeah.
in every way, in the tentacles that it has in everything.
Mhm.
So when you start fixing the money, what does that mean? That means the things that are getting incentivized by that money.
Yeah.
And now they're getting that taken away, and all of a sudden they're not able to have the shows anymore. They're not able to do that because the money was fucked.
Yeah.
So now with Bitcoin, even though it's at what, like $83,000,
Mhm.
It's
it's
on
a,
sale.
it's on sale, right? But like we're literally like the money's always going to be a problem. If you look at every like society ever, the Romans, like
Mhm.
they started like what was the
Coin
narr-
clipping.
Like they started coin clipping, right?
Yeah.
It's a history, like it's a tale as long as history. That's always been an issue.
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, like all of these incentives in terms of the money, that's the money corrupts absolutely. It's like power corrupts absolutely. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But the money is the root of all evil, and it's not the money that's bad. It's the desire and what money can do to someone and give you the power. In America, we have the biggest money printer, right? We have and we run the entire world.
That's what America is at this point. I
right?
mean, we are the money printer
and
for the world.
we start wars with our money printer.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
and people follow what our country does. But now with Bitcoin, it literally gives it in the perfect world, like we get to a Bitcoin standard. It's a journey to get there, but once we do, now the earth and the world is going to be on sound money again. So they can't just print more Bitcoin.
Mhm.
And that's an exciting thing when you really play it out. And then you think about the whole debt of America. If America does adopt a strategic Bitcoin reserve, what happens when Bitcoin reaches $1 million and they buy it at 83,000?
Mm.
Are we now in less debt? Yeah, because we have something on our balance sheet, just like MicroStrategy does.
Yeah.
That's going to be worth more down the road. That we're using our balance sheet as an asset, not a liability. So it's very interesting. Like what's going to happen over the next couple of years with Trump and this whole cabinet.
Yeah, I'm here for the ride.
I mean, he's made a lot of promises. He's kept a lot, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of
see
controversy
what happens
now.
here.
Let's see if he's going to do it. I think he will, but
let's
I
see what
think he's
happens.
getting his ducks in order first.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you can't like DC does not. It's not like, okay, I'm president tomorrow, I can do this. There's certain things that just take freaking time. Like, put it this way, like Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, they just got confirmed like a couple days ago, right? So they couldn't even get.
Stunning.
But yeah, which is insane. I did not think any
Yeah.
of that was going to happen. But they couldn't. They weren't in that position until a couple days ago, so they couldn't start working until a couple days ago. We couldn't see the JFK files until we get that figured out. So it's not like, okay, day one strategic Bitcoin reserve. That's impossible. And the only way that he could have done something in day one was an executive order. And the thing with an executive order,
Easy to overturn.
the next party, the Thames that just gets overturned. So nothing, it doesn't reflect permanent change.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to, like the whole Bitcoin ethos, what's your time preference? It's a long game. It's not a, let's do this right now, even though it's not the best way to do it. Let's take our time, do it right. So down the road, we can continue to feel the benefits. So the generations under us can grow and reap the benefits of what we do today. But if we did it the opposite way, it's like, okay, I'm trying to win political points, and you're really just hurting yourself in the long run and the people. So I'm excited to see now that these people are confirmed, what they're actually going to be able to do, and how I think it's great.
I'm not tired of winning. I don't think I'm going to get tired of winning at this point.
Elon Musk is
Like,
definitely not.
every day just
Absolutely
feels
winning.
like
It
feels good
Christmas.
right now.
Every day feels
It
like
feels good
Christmas.
right now.
I mean,
We'll
waking
continue.
up to see Joy Reid's
Yeah.
fired, that gave me joy.
Yeah.
I
That gave
got,
me-
Euphoria.
I got joy reading that Joy Reid was fired.
That's a good one.
But can I ask? I'm very curious to
Yeah.
know this. Does Congress need to approve this in any way for the reserve to happen? I mean,
Yeah.
because then there's going to be so much political infighting here.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's going to have to go through
If
a
you want it
whole-
to be substantial, like if you want it to be like you said,
Lasting.
permanent, lasting. I mean, Trump could say, "Hey, we're going to do an executive order. We're going to do this. We're just going to, hold this Bitcoin for now or whatever." If Trump leaves in 4 years and the other political party wins, they could just go and reverse that. We saw this with immigration, right? We saw like Trump's first term, immigration numbers were at historic low, and then because Trump had put all these executive orders in place, and then what you saw was as soon as Biden got in power, they essentially rolled back. I mean, he wasn't even alive. He was like a demented guy. But what the deep state or the people that were controlling and pulling his strings, they essentially literally just rolled back all those executive orders. They put it on his desk and they said, "Mr. Biden, you need to sign this. It's your what
Cancel
kind of ice
this.
cream? What
Yeah.
kind of ice cream do you want today? Oh, here's vanilla. Just sign right here. We're gonna get you vanilla."
And then go back to your
And then
basement.
yeah,
they
go
hold
back.
his hand as well.
Yeah, they hold
Yeah,
his hand and
exactly.
just here, sign right here. And he signed all these orders that just repealed all the stuff
Yeah.
that Trump did. And then what did we see? We saw
A shit show
literally
for 4 years.
the immigration numbers. They it was all by design,
Did
of
you
course, right?
see the? I think it was the Colombian president. I
Mhm.
think it was yesterday. Came out in some kind of I don't know if you've got this or not, but it came out in some kind of press briefing where he admitted that the Biden
Yeah.
administration point blank asked them to send their dangerous people, take people out of jails, send across the dangerous people. He's literally
no, I didn't
saying
see that,
it
but that is
in
in fucking insane.
yeah, I'll find it
Yeah.
and send it to you. So it just goes to show you that it was all very intentional with the open borders.
Gustavo Petro, they're saying that there's no direct evidence.
I don't
yet.
remember. Maybe it wasn't the Columbia one. Oh, let me look in my. I'm sure I have it in my
Back
my
to what
X
you
files.
were. But back to what you
I'm not
were
surprised
asking
by it,
about,
though.
like, the Congress. But the thing with the strategic, it's a very bipartisan issue. Like the left went very radical, right? But not everyone on the left is that radical. But some people are still holding on because they're part of the left. They didn't want to leave the party, so they're still in that party. So the strategic Bitcoin reserve, it's not something that most things just get shot down in Congress. But this is something that has a lot of steam from both sides because
So bipartisan support.
There's
it's not
there's
because Bitcoin's not a Republican thing.
More so, it's more so right leaning. But that being said,
but-
there are a lot of people on the left that also
Yeah.
there's a higher level of bipartisan support for this issue than most other issues. I would say.
Correct.
Okay, it
in
was
the
the
United States.
Venezuelan
Ah, so
president.
Maduro, yeah.
Sorry,
Oh,
I had it
okay.
wrong. I knew it was something. But
This
he
is
literally
wild.
he comes out and he says basically, I mean, he's talking in Spanish, but he's talking about how the Biden administration basically asked for specific people to be sent across
That
the
is
border,
insane.
which Trump was also trying to say in a lot of his speeches. So the
Mhm.
open borders thing was nuts.
Yeah.
It makes absolutely zero sense. Why would if like
I mean, they
in
made an
Europe,
app to fly people in.
Well, they did it
They literally
because
made
they're
an app.
trying to win more seats.
Yeah, they need
and
more votes.
It's all
They're
based
important.
on
Yeah. Oh,
population.
It makes sense in terms of that,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
makes no sense in terms of like what are we doing here? Like in Europe, right,
Literally
you
putting
need-
dangerous people in our country.
Yeah, they realized that they were losing the ideological battle. They could no longer hold, even with all the propaganda. I mean, look how well Trump beat the machine. Like they had all this money that taxpayers are sending is going to fund all this propaganda. Look, let's being all exposed now. But like even with all that, people still were like, no, we don't believe you. We know you're full of shit, and we elected Trump.
I mean,
Yeah, so-
luckily we had X.
So yeah, I mean, like this is a deliberate by design thing to import more voters for census to have more seats and to literally turn the tide, right?
And not
I mean,
even that, it changes the entire fabric of our entire
It does,
like,
yeah.
country. Because if let's play this out on
100%.
like a 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 year window. It's like, all right, if this happens, these people have kids, they're raised in a certain way. Who are they voting for?
Of course,
Why? Well, if that was I would vote for the same person until all of a sudden, like,
until you understand,
until
and
it
realize
hurts me.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, each city starts changing, like, and you see, like, and what is the long term effect? In the short term, it's like, okay, cool, yeah, we're gonna win the next election because it's a short time preference thing. We don't care about our. It's just the same thing with in the money in terms of Austrian economics and Keynes. Like, he didn't care about what happens to the next generation because he'll be dead. But
Right.
it's what he like. It doesn't matter about the long term. So it's what happens in the short term. It's the incentives are just completely skewed in terms of long time preference and short time preference. Like,
There's a quote from Dominic's book. It goes like, you can always you can always depend on the vote of Paul when you're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Exactly.
So
the easiest way to
that's
deport
kind of the
people is
quote.
just cut their benefits off.
Yeah.
They'll deport themselves.
Yeah, so-
we're not giving
they
them
can't make it
money.
here without it.
Yeah.
Somebody gave me a leftist argument for this, which was like, is the only argument I've ever heard that like made any sense to me at all. Which was that like, it's true that the first and second generations of immigrants take more than they give from taxpayers of the country, but the third generation gives more than it takes. So by the time that's like 60, 50, however many
I
years
think
down the
that
road.
probably
What's
goes
the
along-
logic in that, though?
I don't
It
know how
probably-
it's true. I
You
don't know how
know?
you verify that. I
Yeah.
mean, but that is
Why?
that,
Because now they have a pride of living here. So
well, because
they're-
they essentially they've been raised in American
Right.
culture. They go to
That's- yeah,
school,
yeah,
they go
yeah,
to
that's what I
college,
meant.
right? It's usually like the third generation that'll go to college, and then they'll have a big high paying job that will pay a lot of tax revenue back to the
What's the
government.
one like weak men create strong like
times. Yeah,
what is it?
it's weak men create hard times create strong men, strong men
create
make
weak men.
no,
Or-
no, strong men create good times create weak
So
men.
it's a cycle.
It's like a
Yes.
self-fulfilling
It's like
prophecy. Yeah.
if you were like, let's say you were very privileged and you were born from a billionaire,
Mhm.
your life is going to be very easy.
Mhm.
Your grandkids' lives are going to be very easy. But what happens to that next generation? Because all of a sudden the money started dwindling out. Maybe they weren't good stewards of that money. They didn't invest the money. Now it's all spent, and now it's like because everyone else had it good, now it's like we are in bad times. So now it's on them
Yeah.
to do it, to start the cycle over. It's a continuous cycle.
Like when I see that from like, if you think about like George Soros and like look at what his kids are doing and the
Yeah.
chaos they're sowing, like those are like, that's a weak man, right? Creating like, all this crazy radical, woke culture of like, essentially racism, institutionalized racism
Very
is what
much
it
so.
is, like, hey, let's not judge people by the content of their character. Let's literally give people brownie points based on their race because they're oppressed or whatever it may be, right?
It's literally the most racist thing you can do.
It's
Yeah, and
literally
also the whole
institutionalized
racism thing. I'm not saying it never existed
Of
or
course,
it doesn't
it always
still
ex-
in a
yeah,
certain
you're
percentage,
never
but
gonna get rid of that.
nowhere near what they made it.
Yeah,
Seem like
exactly.
they did all of that to stoke the flames.
Of
Because
course. Mm-hmm.
when we're divided and we're fighting about shit like that, we're not focusing on the crap that they're doing,
You
which
have-
is what
They
they're
They actually
wanting us.
they actually redefined the word in Mary. I remember when this whole BLM thing started to happen. I think it was like almost 8 years ago now, or was it 8 or maybe it was right before the previous election, so 2020. So no, it was like 6 years ago. But they actually took the word racism and they redefined it to
Oh, I
like
believe it.
encompass more things. And you
Yeah.
watch like the Google charts of like searchable terms that in mentioning the word in media, it went up like skyrocketed to
Astronomical.
just to create division.
One
and-
of the
Yeah.
one of the most
even
racist.
even Elon tweeted about that. He's like, "Oh, look at this."
Yeah, it's because it's
It's
they got the memo.
brainwashing.
They
It's
got the
literally
memo. It's
brainwashing.
Exactly
one
what
of
it
the
is,
things that
propaganda.
to me that was just wild and and they tried to say it was racist, the whole voter ID thing.
Oh my god!
So
my.
you're telling me
Don't even get me started.
I know, but at the same time, since we're talking about it, you're telling me that somebody that's not white has a hard time getting an ID because they're not white.
That's the most.
That
fucking
is the
stupidest
most
thing I've ever heard in my life.
racist thing
Yeah.
that I've ever heard. Like, okay, because someone's a
No, all
minority.
you have to do is be a citizen and
Yeah,
just go do the thing.
Even you don't even need to be a citizen to get an ID these days. You
but
can
they
just
say
walk up
they
and-
don't have a car and then they can't get
and
there.
the whole thing
and
is ridiculous. You can walk.
you
can
heard
take public
Kamala had a
transport
whole
and-
soliloquy about
Yeah,
this.
she's an
so
If they put as
idiotic.
much effort into trying to fix things as they do to try to make excuses and
Exactly.
pacify things,
Yeah.
like that's the difference between the two parties, right?
Yeah, you're
now.
right. It's personal accountability, and that's what's missing from our culture, and that's what's causing the detriment of our society at large.
I
So
think this is
you
changing.
you hit the nail on
Yeah.
the head.
Well, we talked about this last week about like the whole shitcoining thing. Like, if
Yeah.
somebody goes into a casino, like you're allowed to go into a casino.
Yeah.
Like, no one's gonna stop you from going into a casino. But if you go into the casino, you have to deal with your consequences
Exactly. Yeah.
if you lose.
Yeah, that's like
And that's normal. But if
Yeah.
you lose, it's not on the government to give you a welfare check because you fucked up.
yeah. I hear you, man. I agree with you completely. I had the radical take on that. It was like,
wait,
you know,
relate this to shitcoins? I
So
mean,
we're
I
talking
think I know
about-
where you're going.
missed that.
Let's
here's
follow
the,
through.
So here's my
Okay,
here's the
okay,
logic.
tell me,
Here's
tell
my
me,
radical
tell
take
me.
on this whole situation. This whole thing with Javier Milei, like he retweeted like some
Oh, yeah, the
Libra coin
Libra.
or whatever, which
Yeah,
was
yeah.
a fucking meme coin.
And then he
It's
rubbed
like this is like some
billions.
kind of like some shit coin, meme coin on Solana's blockchain, right? It's like the average
I'm
person.
glad this is happening.
The average person does not know how to go onto like Solana and interact with like a DApp and like interact with using a browser.
have
based
no idea.
wallet.
I
Yeah,
have
like,
zero
you-
idea.
Dude,
yeah,
even the
yeah.
Trump coin you couldn't get right away.
Yeah,
like you had to jump through hoops to get it.
Exactly. So this is not like grandma like going to do this. Like this is somebody. These are people who know what they're doing. They're going to get
Sophisticated.
rich quick. They want to gamble and they want to
They're
scheme.
going to the
and
casino.
They're literally going to the casino from their living room or wherever they're at in their little cafe, going on signing transactions, doing all this shit, right? Like, you know, you play dumb games, you win dumb prizes. Like
You
I
got
don't-
rugged.
You,
Just deal with it.
like let's blame everybody. Like let's oh, this is a scam. I got taken advantage of. Like no, you fucking gambled on some meme coin. Like I respect your right to do it, and I don't like again. I'm gonna go against the whole maxi take, which is like you know, have fun, have at it. I like to gamble too. Like you know what I mean. But like I'm not
Some
gonna
people-
cry
Yeah.
if you put your life's worth on a fucking Trump coin or a fucking Melania token or a fucking Libra from like
That's on
you're
you.
that's
Yeah.
on you.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, I
You
don't
went-
feel bad for
yeah,
you.
you
You fucked around
decided-
and found it out. You know,
Yeah.
found out. You
decided to go to the
FAFO.
casino.
Yeah, and you lost.
and you
So
lost.
get over it. There's no rug. There's no. What do you think? What do you think this is a get rich quick scheme? Of course you're gonna.
Yeah.
Like it's a
Well,
game of hot potato.
The thing is,
Everything is good for Bitcoin. Because like these things happen and then you can understand why
correct.
we say what we say about Bitcoin, but your right to do it is your right to do
Yeah,
it. But you are going to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
Everything trends to
think-
Bitcoin in the end.
You know, again, it's a mindset. It's
Yeah.
the mindset of like personal accountability, of like long term thinking, and you know, like I get people come to our meetup all the time. And they're like, what dog coin should I buy, or what? You know what I mean? It's like, hey, like let's learn about Bitcoin first, and
I
like.
get some XRP.
And like I get people
Oh.
texting me over and over again about these meme coins, and I'm
Yes.
like, I'm telling the same people over and over again, like, hey, like, you know, this is gambling. I tell them it's gambling. They're like, I don't care. I need to make this money or whatever. So
Well,
I can
that's-
buy more of this
Yeah.
than I can buy Bitcoin.
I feel like you have a
That's
hot
it,
take
that's
on
it.
yeah,
No,
I
no,
said
I-
XRP and he
Let's hear it.
totally got boiled
So,
over there.
First of all, I have my own problems with XRP. I absolutely despise the idea of it. But
I do as well.
apart from that, what I despise more, or well, equally, is the amount of people that I get. They're like, "Oh, so you're in Bitcoin? So can you tell me about XRP?" And I'm just like, "Well, don't buy it. It's shit." Like, and they're like, "Yeah, but you could make a lot of money." It's like, you know what? If you want to put money on that, maybe you might make some money. You might get lucky, but I'm not touching it. So can you leave me alone with these,
Yeah.
requests, please?
It's
Well,
true.
that's-
Yeah.
The hard part is when somebody wants to say, "Oh, it can do what Bitcoin can't do." It's like
No, it can't.
it can't, and it's also like it's like to me, like I call everything a shitcoin that's not Bitcoin because
Oh,
Bitcoin
sweet,
is
I get to take a counter take on this.
because
Love it.
Bitcoin is
Controversy.
great. Bitcoin is the best form of money, so that's I compare every other coin to the best form of money. What makes it the best form of money? All the characteristics that make up Bitcoin. So I'm not saying this shitcoin things don't have a product that works cool, but they're not as they're not nearly as secure as Bitcoin. They're not decentralized, and I'm really interested to hear what you have to say. So I want to let you.
Okay, so
I want to hear your and have
so-
a
I
discussion.
have 2 cents here, but you go first.
my
and
my,
then
my
I'll
two
put it
set
in.
my two
Yeah.
sats. Here's my 2 cents. My
yeah.
2 cents is that there like not everything, and I know I've said this before. Is like not everything just has to be like super hard sound money. There can be other things. It's like I use the analogy is like just because we have cars doesn't mean we can't have planes or boats or bikes or different things that kind of work similarly, but maybe are optimized for other things, right? So with something like XRP, which is centralized and more controlled, like yes, you're losing decentralization. Yes, you're using scarcity. Yes, it has a high supply, but can it do other things better than Bitcoin? I think it can. It can handle TPS and move more transactions per second than the Bitcoin network, and that's fine. The
That's
Bitcoin
what I was
network
gonna
wasn't.
say. The
Yeah,
banks
that's what
are
I'm
the
saying.
ones
designed for
using
It can
it.
do
right?
that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm not. Does that mean am I investing?
That's
Like,
it. That's the next
that's-
step. Is like,
so-
what are you investing in?
Exactly.
What
They-
is?
they
Why is there a
should-
value proposition here? Could this be a useful thing and not have tremendous value? That's also possible.
That's valuable,
right?
right? That is valuable.
Mhm.
But what's not valuable is the coin they created.
Correct. You have to understand the tokenomics or the fundamentals and really look into that, right? If
So that's like, but most people
that's the
don't.
ultimate question. Most people have no idea, right?
That's
And
the
then you
point.
point them in the right direction and say, hey, educate yourself a little bit on this. Understand why, there's this price disparity. Understand what token supply means. The most basic things, right? And it's like people will not even do the most basic research. So like I do
They're
not
just
feel
like, oh, it's $2 and something cents. I can buy a lot of these.
Yeah, but like 5 minutes of research will like let you understand why that is. And there's no excuse because guess what? Everybody has access to something called the internet.
Yeah.
And you can go research and look all this stuff.
And
you have all of humankind's information available to you at your fingertips.
You can go
Yeah,
on
people are
Grok.
dumber today than they were,
Well, wait a minute. People
30 years ago.
don't do this.
Yeah.
I mean,
don't.
the
About
algorithm
anything.
follows, most people don't even bother to go on Google anymore and do things
Mhm.
right. So, I mean, things are changing. It's not the
Yeah.
2000s anymore. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think you fuck around, you find out, and
Mm.
you deserve to lose your money and get wrecked if that's how you're living your life and that's how you're spending your money. And there's a tale as old as time. A fool and their money are soon parted. Like personal responsibility. You learn the lesson. Like everyone goes through an experience and you learn, right? Oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have fucking put my whole net worth on Melania token or fucking Libra or whatever it is, right? Like,
That's the
'cause I
biggest
wanted to
problem.
gamble and get rich quick, and I wanted to double my
Well,
money, right?
those people that lost were the same people that were trying to fuck someone else over.
Yeah,
But they got caught holding
yeah,
the bag.
exactly. It's it's bullshit. It's
So
bullshit.
That's what I always tell people
Yeah.
is like, listen, if you want to put money in all that stuff, like I got neighbors, they buy all the other coins. I'm
Mhm.
like, that's fine. Just only put in what you're okay with losing because it's likely that you probably could lose
Mhm.
it. And the reason that I only buy Bitcoin is because people get a really bad taste in their mouth.
Mhm.
They put all their money in Libra, they got rugged, and now they're like, I'm not touching anything. I'm not
Mhm.
even going to look into Bitcoin either. So that's why I don't like it. That's why I don't like shitcoins because
That's a successful strategy. That
it
like
gives-
maximalistic take. Like,
yeah.
if you do that, you're gonna do really well.
It really gives people such a bad taste for crypto
Mhm.
because that's
Which is
what
sad,
they
which
know
is
it
sad,
as,
yeah.
and then they're totally turned off to even learning about Bitcoin at all, and that's why I don't like it.
Yeah.
So that happened to me. Like when I first got into Bitcoin, I just wanted to make some money,
Mhm.
right? So I had no fucking idea what made Bitcoin different than anything else.
Mhm.
So if I'm just in it to make money, why not throw money at other things as well? Because hey, I'm just in it to make money.
Yeah.
Then what happened? Like I realized, oh, that's a little different. Then I started learning about it, how it was
Mhm.
different than everything else. Like okay, well, I don't want to fucking trade. I don't want to sit at a computer. I don't want to watch charts. That doesn't fit my personality. What does fit my personality for me? Okay, I like to hold things. I want to see. I want a long time preference. This is the Buffett strategy, right? Buy things that you believe in. So when
There you go.
when they're down, you still believe
Conviction
in the
is still
company
there,
because
yeah.
This is,
Yeah.
So
this
my-
is why I run the Bitcoin meetup. This is what I tell by people. This
So-
is why we always talk about why Bitcoin is the most important thing and why you should dollar cost average and do exactly what you're describing,
And
right?
if Bitcoin, which I don't think it would, but if it did fail, all this other shit is gone. Like if
Yeah.
like if everything grows with Bitcoin, like XRP would grows with Bitcoin, but if Bitcoin went out, like if Bitcoin ended tomorrow, all of the shit's done.
we have bigger problems. if
bigger-
that
we have
bigger
happens.
problems.
We have
Way
way
bigger-
bigger problems.
Way bigger problem, but everything else is just like and I like
Yeah.
I think Jack Mahler's like he says it's an arbitrage on the trend.
It trends.
Mm.
Everything trends with Bitcoin.
Like,
Oh,
pretty much
100%.
everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's the big kahuna.
Exactly. So
Oh.
as Bitcoin goes on,
Yeah.
like I was trying to explain this to somebody a month ago, and they're like, "Oh no, not everything's correlated to Bitcoin." Like, it's not exactly like the day to day,
Yeah.
like in the moment. It's like when Bitcoin goes up, watch the shitcoins are gonna come up after.
Well, yeah, it just Bitcoin is the biggest market cap and it has the most premium use case for what
'cause it's-
blockchain is all about. It's this idea of having a sound money. I mean, that is the foundation of everything else.
I don't.
In my opinion, it doesn't mean that you can't have other niche use cases and
Yeah.
things that are cool and have value. But Bitcoin, this idea of money, of course it's the most important thing. It's sound money for
Yeah.
for human civilization for the next fucking forever, essentially, right? It's designed to be this beautifully engineered system that can protect people from abuses by third parties like governments and everything else, doing all the scams and bullshit we're seeing today, right?
And you got in mining, right?
yeah.
And
yeah.
you used to mine also?
Yeah, I dabbled in it
Mhm.
quite a long time ago, and
Yeah.
then stupidly got bored of it, which, looking back, that was
Yeah.
a very dumb idea.
I was just trying to figure out how I could help support this fucking awesome network. And then you just really start to understand this idea of actual electricity supporting this thing and having this cost of production to this digital asset. And it really mirrors gold mining in a lot of ways, right? Like gold miners are going to pull gold out of the ground. They're not going to sell the gold for less than it costs them to mine it for, right? There's a cost of production there.
And the cool thing, sorry for cutting you off. The cool thing with like the difference between gold and Bitcoin, like let's say gold's value doubles tomorrow, right? Or right now.
Mhm.
How many more people are going to be mining for gold? And
Yeah.
when they do that, how much more gold are they going to be able to get out of the ground?
Mhm.
The difference is with Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin goes to 200,000 while we're talking right now. The supply is not going to be able to arrive faster. The supply is set in time.
Mhm.
So it's not like I can move that to right now. It's literally locked in the future. So no matter what the price of Bitcoin is, the supply issuance, you can't change it. So, but it's completely different in gold in that respect because it's
So what you're describing right now is what we call stock to flow.
yes.
Exactly.
And this idea of stock to flow, gold is actually one of the hardest things to what you just described. Historically, gold's been the best
It's
at
like 1.8%.
it's been the best at resisting this massive increase of supply. All other metals like copper and like silver, even to some extent, it's much if the value of that goes up, it's very easy to increase supply.
Yeah.
Gold is so scarce. The scarcest, it's
Yeah,
the God-made money, I guess is what you would say, that when the demand for gold goes up, it's very hard to get more than that 1.8% of the supply per year. Maybe you can go up a little bit, but there's been that natural constraint due to its actual scarcity. Bitcoin just turns this on its head and actually truly encodes it mathematically for everybody to actually know. But that's why gold was one of the best, forms of money throughout human history. It was the best form of money throughout human history.
Gold's great.
And-
Like you love gold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely a gold bug. I have been before Bitcoin, but here's the thing: I'm very curious to see what's going to happen now at Fort Knox. when
I
they
was
actually
just
do
going
the
to say,
count.
can we
Like,
pull up
that-
Poly Market and find out what the odds
that
are?
would
Of like,
be-
what's the
What do you think?
what
course
are
they
the
have odds.
odds
What do
of
you
Fort
think's gonna
Knox?
I don't know. I mean, for decades, there's been this, the conspiracy theories to some extent. But to be very honest with you, I would be very interested to know how much of that gold is actually real. They got to actually check it.
It's so funny that you mentioned all this
Yeah,
stuff. I just
yeah.
had Dominic Frisbee and Larry Lepard, who are both like really into gold markets. They're I call them my two favorite boomers because before Bitcoin there was gold, right? So they're heavily into
I
that.
meant to
but
bring Larry's book. I was going to
Yeah.
bring it.
It's we have it here. We have it here.
Wow,
It's,
they actually have
Yeah.
set this up. This
So
is
no, I knew Poly Market probably had something. Gold
And-
missing from Fort Knox.
can we throw some money on there right now?
chance.
yeah, wow, that's like pretty good.
Yo, that's actually a really good bet.
Yeah, it's
pretty
that's
great
a
bet.
good line.
I guess the question is how much gold, and there's a lot of theories. One is, and Larry and Dominic explained this to me, that the purity of the gold there is worse purity than like what you expect today. So like there's definitely going to be some missing because the purity, the quality is lower. So there's that aspect of it. Then there's this idea that
The paper.
there's no, not paper, but they said that like I think it's tungsten or some kind of other alloy that they're finding in a lot of gold bars.
And they paint them.
They paint them. Well,
yeah, it's
they
like
have the real.
counterfeit gold.
They have like
Yeah.
they could even have like real gold on the rim.
Yeah,
And then inside they
it's
have, but it weighs. So if you weigh it, it like weighs
It's
the same.
almost
It's
hard
like
to tell.
you can't really tell. So you
Yeah.
actually have to cut it in half, which adds all this extra cost. And I read that they did this in Canada in some safe, I think a year or two ago, and they like touched the first bar they did. It was like all fake. And they're like, oh fuck, we're gonna leave the vault. We're not going to the next one.
I mean, if there is
So-
gold missing
Yeah.
from what we think it is,
Mhm.
that's obviously very good for Bitcoin. I saw somebody post about this, and I don't remember exactly what they said, but it was something along the line. Oh, I think it was Walker that posted like, "Here's what's going to happen." And
That
if
was a
the
good game
gold,
theory,
that was a
yeah.
really good game theory
was
because
great
he
game
was
theory to play
basically
out.
saying if the gold is missing and we don't have as much as we thought we did, then
Mhm.
that effectively means that China and Russia have
Yeah.
more gold than us, which means what's Trump going to do? He's
Yeah.
going to push that Bitcoin reserve
As he
so
should.
much faster.
That's
That's
how you head off your geopolitical
so
rivals
that
at this
he can
point.
be ahead of them with Bitcoin instead of gold.
That's the play. Bitcoin is the
Which he should do
foundational
anyways,
sound money for
but-
the future. I mean, we're very early on in this transition, but that is how the game theory plays out. And right now, China is on their 100-year plan. They're like stacking all this gold. They're not putting it on their books, but Dominic and Larry were talking about it. They've got all these shipments coming in, and they've got way more gold than they're letting on. So they're preparing to hopefully, I mean, they probably want to be the next reserve currency, that they're probably going to back it by gold. And this is probably part of their long, maybe 10, 20 years from now, part of their game plan. So they're playing the long game. But when you try to make plans for 20, 30 years and do all this stuff, you miss opportunities that innovators create.
You
And
can't leave Bitcoin out of that conversation now at
well,
this
is
point.
that's
Like,
the
you know,
that's the play.
but
is the
they
U.S.
are,
comes in and says,
right.
we're not back in our current. We're not going back to a gold standard. We're doing a Bitcoin
We're moving
standard.
forward.
Yeah, that's
With
that,
the new technology that took everything that was great about gold, other than its long history.
Yeah, you can't recreate
because
that.
you can't do that.
Yeah.
But we're taking all the good characteristics and improving them,
Exactly.
and we're going to use the new technology because there's a reason why the old technology didn't work, right? There's a reason why fiat got created.
Absolutely.
Because gold, like
It's not
imagine
good
like
for divisibility.
imagine you had to carry. Imagine you're a millionaire,
it doesn't
billionaire.
work. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you're a billionaire, how like and you have gold, like imagine just leaving your
just
house.
throw
Good
it
luck
over my
buying a sandwich
shoulder.
with
But
that.
imagine just leaving your
Yeah.
house.
I'm
like
gonna
someone
shave
knows
you
where-
off a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
Someone
what are you
knows
gonna
why
do?
Goldfield
But
has
that's-
money.
but it's
Yeah.
like someone
in a
knows
lot of
where you
ways.
live.
Yeah.
And you're a billionaire, and all your gold's if someone steals your gold, you're not a billionaire any longer.
Yeah.
They have your gold, so it's not yours any longer. And the thing with Bitcoin is like, as long as you can remember 12 words, 24 words, you are self-sovereign.
I know I've talked about this in the past couple of weeks, but this idea of a digital bearer asset versus a physical bearer asset like gold, there is a difference there. There's a
Right.
massive difference. There's we could have $1 billion of wealth stored in our brain, and nobody could even know, that we have it
Exactly.
there, and that, what accounts are ours, or like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
I
pretty
could
interesting.
imagine you wanted to go to Europe, and you wanted to take your wealth with you. If you're real estate, how soon can you make that happen? Well, it's going to be a process. If you have gold, how much can you actually take on your plane? If you have cash,
10,000 euros.
there you go.
And well, you can
Worth
bring
of
more.
gold?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they actually check it. So now even since January 2023, they made Bitcoin money. So if you're caught, for example, bringing a Casasius coin into the European Union, well, congratulations, they'll seize it if you don't declare it.
That is
And if you pay somebody in Bitcoin, but it's offline like that, you actually have to declare it.
Check
if you
this
don't.
out. I pulled this up just for you. I had Paul pull this up just for you,
Yeah.
Daniel. Looks like crypto transfers are becoming severely restricted in Europe. Coinbase is blocking transfers to recipients other than yourself. And if it is a self-custodial wallet, you have to sign a message to prove your ownership.
What?
Yes,
That's
they will
wild.
ask. And not only that, they've blocked me from moving funds before and say, okay, we have to do a KYC check. It's like, okay, but a KYC check can take forever to get done.
On purpose.
So
Yeah.
it's, I've had also problems with other exchanges. For example, I've been fighting with Bitrex now for God knows how long just to withdraw, a fraction of a BTC, but it's the principle. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, KYC check again. It's like, well,
Yeah.
They want to know where it's
they
going.
want to know,
or-
but
yeah.
how
I'm
can I
fighting
prove?
with an exchange over
Sounds
this
like
right
a
now.
regular bank. You
that
want to go
basically-
withdraw money.
Yeah,
They
but
want to know.
I hate that. It's the
It's
same
bullshit.
with banks.
Bullshit.
It's the
Total
same
bullshit.
nonsense. Look, I understand the need to check, that it isn't being used for terrorism. I get that you want to understand the transaction history and tax it. Fair enough. I can live with that.
I
but
can't.
I'm like, no, it's
I
not.
have to prove to my bank or to Coinbase, I have to prove to them where I got the source of my funds, with some of them being, going back as 2013. I don't have receipts for that.
Yeah, they're out of
Do
their
you
minds.
keep receipts from more than 10 years ago?
I don't keep
Because
receipts at all.
I don't. Yeah. What the
like,
fuck? Who
I
the
don't
fuck these
like
people
just
think
like
they
I
are?
don't keep fiat money. I don't keep fiat receipts. They're paper. Like I don't want to keep
It's
it.
all just so antiquated, but it's
Yeah.
antiquated on purpose, which is for control.
Mm,
Because
you're right.
ultimately,
Absolutely.
that's
You're right.
that's always been the
You're right.
goal.
You're right. You're
It's
absolutely right.
100%.
wild.
What do you got next for us, Paul?
Well, I just want you guys to prepare for an economic collapse coming this Friday.
Oh, really? What do we
Oh,
got?
that's
There is
Friday.
going to be a liberal boycott.
Oh,
Perfect.
Brace yourselves.
What is this crap?
I gotta get my
Don't
outfit
even-
picked out for this.
I say we just ignore
Al
it.
Sharpton.
Liberals.
Ah,
is Al Sharpton.
you
Come on, bro.
lost me
Just
with
get this out of here.
You lost me with Al Sharpton.
No
Don't even-
McDonald's, no fast food.
Hide your
Oh my
kids.
God.
Hide your wife.
Wow.
not make
No
any
Best Buy,
purchases.
no Amazon,
Who's
no
nobody's
Walmart.
watching this crap?
Oh, they're boycotting.
DEI.
Go ahead.
DEI boycott.
Is that Project 2025?
I know this is a DEI boycott plan.
This is on the 28th.
So,
Great.
Wait a
People are
minute. They want to
trolling so
For
hard.
24
gas.
hours. That's not going to do shit.
Don't even give these people attention, Paul.
Yeah,
Just
it's
No.
just
Great
next.
day to go
Next.
shopping. That's what
go
I'm
to
hearing.
JD Vance up there. Let's see what he had to
Such
say. He actually
I'm
had some.
obviously joking.
I know you are. Go up
Did
to
you guys see that on March 4th, Trump called like a mandatory address to Congress? If you're in Congress, you have to be there. So there's
Really?
a lot of buzz going around about,
Hmm.
well, what's he going to say and what's that going to be about?
Interesting.
I don't know if you saw that or not, but
I have not, but I'm gonna have to be there since I'm in Congress.
yeah.
Sorry,
Hopefully he's
I
going
won't
to
be
fire.
working that day.
Hopefully he's going to fire all
So
of them. and
go back
send
to
them
that
home.
take by Amuse. I want to talk about this because the current narrative out there is like, oh, how dare Elon gets to see taxpayer information. Meanwhile, they've got this guy this IRS agent who was I guess a Democrat activist, and he leaked over 400,000 tax returns. Looks like he's probably going to be doing
Awesome.
some jail time. Mr. Little John, that's what they call him, Mr. Little John. There he goes, Mr. Little
What a
John.
name.
What a name, Mr. Little John. All right, next take, Paul.
They're all bitching and saying, "Oh, Elon's going to take our money." He
Motherfucker.
doesn't need your money.
Yeah, the
I saw
motherfucker ran
AOC. You
PayPal
think
for-
she's hot, but she's not.
No, she's hot, but
She's
she-
kind of hot. You can't. I mean, she's kind of hot.
She's got the beauty without any brains.
Oh
But
my
the
god! I
fact that
saw her
she's
at a
some-
rally saying this shit.
But
I'm
the-
like, really?
The fact that people, that the craziest thing is people voted her in,
Yeah.
which is because, but like if
That's another one. Riddle me how she has a net worth of millions on a salary of like 200K.
But also, I mean, it's. I don't feel like talking.
Paul,
about
what's that
Democrat
JD
Party
Vance
any
take? Can you
longer.
go back to that JD Vance take? Let's see here. Oh, this is an interesting thought. It was I flagged it because of the perspective of how certain people operate that live here, and it just resonated with me. I thought I wanted to share it. JD Vance said, during my Senate campaign in 2022, I met a Ukrainian American man in northeastern Ohio. He was very angry about my views on the conflict and my desire to bring it to a rapid close. He says, "You are trying to abandon my country. I don't like it." He goes, "Sir," I replied, "your country is the United States of America, and so is mine. I always found it offensive that a new immigrant to our country would be willing to use the power and influence of their new nation to settle the ethnic rivalries of the old. One of the most important parts of assimilation is seeing your country as the USA. It's part of the bargain. If you're welcomed into our national family, you ought to look out for the interests of the United States. I know many immigrants who have the right perspective, and I'm grateful for them. For example, I met many Ukrainian Americans during that campaign and since who agreed with my views, or at the very least, asked the right question: what is in the best interest of the United States?" I'm loving this
No,
JD Vance
yeah.
long form
Dude,
content that he's
That
posting on
guy's
X.
amazing.
That's
He
so
has a
amazing.
point.
That's the
I
whole
mean,
point
yeah.
of everything right now. It's like, I want, like, you live in the Netherlands. Do you want your president or whatever they call the person that runs the country there? Sorry if it's not president, I don't know. But you want them to put your
Dictator. That's
you
what
want,
they call
but you want them to have
Of
Emperor. Look,
but
Emperor.
you want them to put your country's needs first.
course.
That's
I
right.
want my president
Yeah.
to put my country's needs 1st If I lived in Colombia, I want that person to put my needs first. Why is that even a hot take?
I
It's
don't
such an
understand.
elemental thing, and this is a problem we have in Europe as well, is that I have no problem with immigrants coming to a country,
Mhm.
but assimilate. If I
Yeah.
were to move to the United States, I would follow the culture and respect the social norms that are in the United States. You don't go, oh, well, we do it better in Europe with this and that. It's like, well, okay, so go back to Europe.
Exactly.
It's the same logic that we say,
Yeah.
to some people who come, for example, from North Africa or who come from Afghanistan or those countries. They're welcome if you assimilate. But the problem is, you probably saw from all these terrorist attacks and everything, and general implementation, for example, of Sharia law in Europe, which I personally cannot understand how
It's
that is
insane.
even a topic.
That's an infiltration happening.
Yeah, it's-
by
Oh,
design,
absolutely.
I think.
Absolutely.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what was happening here, but
Yeah.
like we put an end to it. It's
I'm
wild.
all for people coming.
Yeah, we
and,
want
like,
people here.
That's cool, but come the right way and don't expect us to all pay for it and or change everything to be accommodating. To a degree, sure. We should be polite and we should be respectful of, other values and other cultures, but to say that we have to change and also fund it, and
Yeah.
that's where you lose me.
I mean, I think you can still keep some of your culture from wherever you came from.
Of
but
course.
That
just
makes you who
assimilate.
you are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. We don't want to
absolutely.
lose that.
And we can
but
respect that. Yeah.
yeah.
Like everyone sitting at this table, or
Uh-huh.
at maybe you're like my grandma came from Greek, so she became a Greek American, Italian American. Like
Yeah.
you literally combine like what you loved about your country, and you combine it into what and how it can become like an American Italian, and the next generation. And you don't ever want to lose who you are and what made you who you are, but at the same time, it's like you're left for a reason.
Yeah.
Like like you get in a relationship, you break up, and then a couple years like, oh, that was. You don't remember any of the bad shit, why it ended, but you remember the good things. You're like,
Nostalgia.
nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, because that's what you remember, that's what you reflect on. But that doesn't mean you should go back to that relationship, because if you did, all of a sudden those same things are going to start showing their face again. So it's very interesting when people, oh, we did it this way, and everyone's guilty of it because we are who we are. We like our own life makes us who we are. So we go somewhere, it's like, oh, but it's one of those things like if I wanted to live in New York City, but I'm from Florida and I didn't bring winter clothes, and it's the winter, guess what? I'm gonna be fucking freezing because I didn't change.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We like at the end of the day, we are all human beings, and that is an animal at the end of the day. Like if an animal went to a different place to live and they didn't adapt, oh, I only eat meat, but guess what? There's no meat here. You guys better start eating grass or you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's the same thing, but in different, like we just have the ability to talk and
I get it. Trust me, I hear you. I get it. I agree with you completely.
I do love JD Vance though.
Yeah,
Can we
he's
talk
the
about
best.
that for a minute?
Sure.
He's gonna be the president.
He's got a
for sure.
beard too.
Yeah.
Like when's the last time you saw a vice
He
president
has
or
a
a
beard.
No, seriously.
He's beard
like it.
maxing.
Is that the credentials that you need these
Yeah.
days, or what?
But-
He's not playing the credentialism.
But no, like I
No,
remember
the credentialism is
That's
like you
actually
can't
a fair
have a beard.
shout.
No, but
Okay.
also-
You cannot have a
Think
beard.
about
That's
that.
like the rule. Like
If
you
it
need
was
to be
dirty,
clean shaven.
it was
and-
considered dirty,
Yeah,
right?
when I was
For-
growing up, like when I was 16, 17, and I worked in the restaurant industry, I had to shave every single day. Like, and that was a common across all restaurants. Now you go to a restaurant, everyone has a fucking beard, or not everyone, but a lot. It's more common. So it's vice president. Name the last politician that you've seen have a beard. It was clean
True.
cut,
No.
clean cut, clean cut,
I can't
clean cut.
actually.
Well,
Yeah.
Thomas Massey now has a beard, by the way.
Oh.
I saw that today.
But he didn't. But
Is
now
that a copycat, basically, or
But
what?
it's, or is like, someone else is pushing it forward. Like, beards are cool. Everyone like, and also JD Vance, just like
Paul.
James Harden, looks horrible without a beard.
Probably
I
looks
have to,
funny,
uh,
yeah.
I have to go coach a flag football game here soon, but I want to do one more take before we close this out.
I have JoJo texting right now saying it's time to pick up your son.
So I gotta ride on out of here in a minute. But before we go, I want to talk about this small. I think it's her data Republican. I guess they doxed her and she's mute and blind.
I just saw her
And
post
did
about
you see
it.
the thing? Like that's
I didn't get to read the whole
crazy
entire
how,
thing, but she's
like,
said she was gonna come out in front of
basically
it.
how they were like attacking her and coming after her. I actually subscribed to her last week. I think it's like $3 a month. So I don't know if you can find that take, Paul, but can you? It's a post by her. I flagged it. It's in my notes. So by looking it up, I would just scroll down there until you see it.
So
Yeah,
wait,
let's
so
see.
who doxed her and
You're
what?
going
I
too
couldn't
fast.
get into the whole thing, but who doxed her and what was the backstory on it? Do you remember?
I guess because she was exposing all this corruption. She's making these like data trees that are like showing like what you said before, like this.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that far back.
She
Paul.
was
It
saying
it
she
way higher up.
she quit her job, I think, to go work on Doge related stuff,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
she got doxed.
They started like coming after her. Right
Yeah.
there. There it is. There it is. She's right there. Yeah. Data Republican. Pull up this post. So go to her page.
I was gonna say there's a whole thing about the doxing
Yeah,
situation.
So that's her right there. So I guess she's mute. She has a certain. I'm deaf and being. So here it is, right here. I have been doxed. Rather than let others control the narrative, I am addressing this directly. My name is Jenica Pounds. I recently resigned from my job to pursue Doge adjacent efforts full time. While my background check is still in progress, my ultimate goal is to work with the administration to cut waste and improve efficiency. What began as a side hobby became a mission when I uncovered the role of NGOs in these issues. This is not about left or right. This is about us, the people. I gave up everything for this, my safety, my career, because I believe in what I am doing. I am 100% deaf and nonverbal. My lack of signing fluency does not make me any less deaf. It is a result of a language impairment related to my autism called expressive dysphagia, which affects my ability to construct language fluently in real time. This impacts my signing, speaking, and even writing, though writing allows me more time to correct mistakes. My interpreter and I spend hours refining my talking points to ensure she conveys what I mean, not just what I say. I am deaf, and being deaf is not and should never be defined by one's signing ability, particularly when there are medical conditions involved. I do not believe the deaf community should be politically aligned with any party. A priority of mine has always been on holding the administration accountable to deaf Americans, including advocating for policy changes such as allowing a second interpreter camera stream on television broadcasts. I will continue using my platform to push for these necessary changes. So I am I am so impressed by, like, she struggles with communication, but like what she's communicating to the world right now is so unbelievably important. And like nobody is doing it better than her. She is like crushing it, like showing these chains of NGO fraud and waste and abuse. So like her mission is extremely important, and I am just amazed by the content she's doing. So I followed her, I subscribed to her. I hope whoever's watching the stream will subscribe to her and give her $3 a month, which is not a big ask.
I
for the
love
amount of work that she's doing.
I didn't get to dig into it too.
Yeah.
I literally just saw that as
Yeah,
I
like,
was
look what
on
she-
my way here.
Like she draws these like trees that just like show where all the money's going and like what the connections are and whose kids are here.
She's probably been doing it longer than
It's
like the
anybody
accountant.
realizes
The movie-
too.
Remember the movie The
Yeah,
Accountant?
it's like the movie. It's exactly what it is. What she reminds me of.
But-
Exactly.
She's a digger. I love it.
Yeah, I
she
love it.
she goes down the rabbit holes and she
brings
connects all. She's a
receipts.
dot
What,
connector.
Hitman on the side, yeah?
Yeah. No wonder they want to shut her up. You know.
All right, that's what
Mm.
journalists are supposed to do.
This is real
We've
journalism.
been
Yeah.
hijacked.
Yeah, exactly right. This is a journalist. This is a real journalist, not the propagandists that are complaining.
Exactly. This is exactly who we should be supporting.
Yeah.
Not the
Let's send
people
her
who
some
are trying to
Bitcoin.
talk crap about her
Yeah.
and like.
Yeah, tell her to post a Bitcoin address.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad
Actually,
idea.
that's a great idea.
post a
Bitcoiners
Bitcoin.
will get behind her.
Yeah,
Eddie,
I
you're
like
gonna
that.
keep talking if we don't cut this.
I know,
Do
guys.
you
I
want me
gotta
to pick up Peyton so you can keep going?
No, I gotta wrap.
No,
'cause
we
I
got
coach the
dinner
game.
also.
Yeah, they gotta go to dinner.
This
But,
is- this
but they are
conversation's
welcome
rolling.
back anytime, any day.
This was fun.
We'll do it whenever. And right now we're doing Wednesdays and Fridays. So like,
I will come and talk this crap with you guys
okay,
as many
yeah,
times
so
as you want me to.
Always
commit till
welcome.
next
And then-
commit to next Wednesday. Friday we've got a couple of truckers coming. The guy from
Canada? No shit.
Dude, it's the guy who organized
Yeah.
the Canadian trucker
so I've got
convoy.
Benjamin
Oh,
Dichter. He's coming to do a
nice.
Cypherpunk'd podcast with
Oh,
me
how
on,
cool.
like on his book and just on everything that's happening right now. But he's also going to be on the runway on Friday. So him and a guy named Todd who's doing like I know we talk about all these different things, but he's doing some kind of blockchain thing for it's like a 30-day payment thing because truckers, I guess, don't get paid until 30 days after, and it's like this huge. I'm going to learn all about it. I can't
Yeah.
wait. But apparently, it's this huge issue right now that like they don't get paid. It's like a 30-day thing. They'll get paid 30 to 90 days later, but they need that money to like do
Of
their next
course.
load. It's an interesting thing, and he apparently has a blockchain solution for it. Unrelated to Bitcoin, I believe, but it shows a use case for blockchain technology that can be used for something. So we're going to talk to him.
I feel like anything like that has to be like whatever's in place is very outdated.
It's so bad. Oh, it's
Like,
so
it's-
bad. Apparently, that's what he's saying. It's like terrible. But
It
like
had,
to
like,
use this thing, I don't know. I'm going to learn
He
about
needs
it.
to get Elon on
His
it.
name's
you
Todd.
know?
Todd. I think what is the company? Paul, do you have it off the top of your head or no?
Let
Todd.
me pull it up.
Yeah, pull it up. I think he's going to be at this TCS show, and I'm trying to get Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin Ben's going to be down here on Friday too.
Oh,
so
really?
Oh, that
I'm
guy's
getting. We're going to do
riot.
all the truckers. It's going to be like a
Okay.
trucker conversation.
perfect.
I'm
Are you
gonna,
getting one after the
I'm
other?
gonna
gonna
sit that
blow
one
their
out.
mind. I'm going to
I'm
blow
gonna
their
sit
mind.
that one out,
met-
but
they
I
were
will
at-
come back.
I met them in Nash.
Yeah.
They-
Yeah.
Bitcoin Ben is great.
No,
Yeah.
the
He's,
Gatewoods.
No, the Gatewoods
Oh.
are cool people too, but it's not
They're
them.
amazing.
Oh, no, I didn't meet them.
The Gatewoods
Yeah,
are
you
awesome. Yeah,
They're good.
they're good
Oh,
people.
you
they're
met
good
them in
people.
Nashville, you
Yeah.
said, at the
I-
conference?
then
They
were
live in
at
Nashville.
Yeah. and
They
then
came here for Bitcoin
Yeah.
Day.
Then I saw them at Bitcoin
Yeah.
Day. Like, oh
Yeah,
my
Bitcoin
gosh,
in
Nick. I
Naples,
was
yeah.
like,
I met them there.
whoa. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, they're good people.
I love it.
But not the Todd I was thinking of. But so
Can I
him,
do a
BJ will be.
shameless plug for
BJ
the
will be here.
conference? Speaking of,
No one's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
stop
yeah.
you.
Absolutely.
Do all your
should.
plugs right now.
I mean, we have to, right?
Plug now
So
before
I just
plug out.
anybody who's watching, I want to make sure you know you're invited. We're doing the conference. It's at the end of May in Las Vegas. It's what, the 26th,
27th to 29th.
27th
Yeah.
through the 29th? Yeah, I was going to say the 26th. It starts right after Memorial Day. So if you're new to Bitcoin, it's a great place to come
Can I-
meet more Bitcoiners.
If I lose all my money in the casino, can I blame the Bitcoin conference for bringing me there? Can I cry,
No.
scream about it?
There's
and
going to
say,
be a lot of
"Ah,
debauchery
who-
going on, a lot of networking.
I can't believe they made me lose all my money on a scam or on a fucking gambling.
Yeah.
Can
That's
I blame Melee
no,
or
that's
can I
not our-
blame
that's not our
who can I
fault.
blame?
Ask Nick.
Oh, I can't blame
He's
anybody.
the boss, actually.
I don't want to
He
blame
runs-
myself, so I
he
just need to
runs
know
it.
who I can blame if I lose all my money.
Kamala.
Kamala, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Do you think
I'll-
they'll
I'll
take
blame Kamala.
Bitcoin at the roulette table by any chance? Or?
They will soon enough. There's
Oh.
strippers.
Then
with
I'm really
there's strippers
screwed.
with QR
Yeah.
code with Bitcoin QR codes on their ass.
Well, I guess according to my boss, I mean, gamblers have been using Bitcoin for
Yeah.
a long time.
Yes,
yeah,
we have.
that's a whole other story. I
Oh,
can
yeah.
tell you my
Oh yeah,
gambler story.
But
no doubt.
this was fun.
Yes.
It sounds like we all got to get
Yeah.
going.
We'll see you in Vegas.
See you in Vegas.
Yeah.
gonna
Make
be a
these
good time.
polymer bit.
There will be
for-
new
for,
whale
Vegas
notes.
strippers.
Courtesy of Daniel.
Dude. Oh,
There will be, yes.
Yeah.
Stripper
All right.
bit. Stripper bit. Stripper bit.
Oh,
Thanks
boy.
for your
All right,
time.
guys.
It's
Oh,
been
boy.
great
It's been real.
chatting.
Thank
yeah.
you.
It's been fun. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
We'll be back Friday.
Bye-bye.
The runway. The runway. The runway.